The University of KwaZulu-Natal has signed a Memorandum of Understanding on Traditional Medicine with the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development of Nigeria. The MOU will see the two institutions focus on research and development, including human capital in traditional medicine. It's also expected that those in the pharmaceutical value chain stand to benefit from this partnership. To tell us how exactly, joining us to further elaborate on this collaboration is Dr. Adigwe Mamora, Nigeria's Health Minister, as well as Professor Hassan Kaya, Director for UKZN's Center in Indigenous Knowledge Systems. Thank you both for staying with us, and thank you so much for both of your patience. Now, Minister, earlier I'd asked you rather to talk to us about the inception of the partnership, but Professor, perhaps if you could let us in more on that element of the partnership as well. What was the impetus to join efforts together with the Institute and try to research and develop further traditional medicine?
Okay, thank you very much for also giving us an opportunity to share with you the initiative, strategic initiative, which is not only for South Africa and Nigeria, but is for the whole continent as a whole. I mean, I would like to start by saying that if you look at the history of our continent, I mean, Africa, it has gone through slavery, colonization, apartheid in South Africa, and the other forms of imperialism. They have created a situation or a kind of a legacy that Africans do not have their own history of ideas, do not have their own solutions to developmental challenges. And this initiative, we want to show that using our indigenous knowledge systems, the resources we have, and in this context, traditional medicine in terms of plants and other resources, using our own indigenous knowledge holders and practitioners, we can, through partnerships across our countries, across different sections of society, come together and create solutions for the development of our continent with a focus on those people at the grassroots level who are the ones mostly affected by the developmental challenges. Africa is rich in terms of resources, in terms of knowledge systems, in terms of homegrown philosophies, and you can mobilize all these through partnership as we are doing now within the focus on traditional medicine to ensure that we meet the developmental challenges of our people.
Yeah. Minister or Dr. Mamora, earlier you were talking about how there's a misconception that traditional forms of medicine are wholly unused, when in fact the truth is that quite a number of individuals, millions perhaps across the continent, continue to use traditional medicine to this day, except that traditional health practitioners often experience barriers in terms of recognition or any sort of regulation. And I'm curious about what the hope is for this partnership in addressing issues like that.
Right. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we are not unmindful of these barriers. And as far as some of us are concerned, the barriers we talk about, they are in line with a kind of cultural imperialism. You know, the African continent had suffered political and economic imperialism, if you like, and there is an attempt to further add cultural imperialism because traditional medicine is part and parcel of our culture. And so some of us are determined that no, we cannot allow this to be. Therefore, whatever barriers there are, we must do everything possible to remove those barriers in terms of recognition, barriers in terms of labeling, that it is crude and all that, barriers in terms of, it's kind of not open and all that. Well, one of the things that we are doing is to remove, as it were, the veil, make it open, make it transparent, and have documentation, and of course ensure. One of the reasons why it appears to be shrouded in secrecy is because of the fear of taking away the what you call the right, intellectual property right of these practitioners. So these are some of the barriers which we hope to remove and make it open, make it available. Because whether we like it or not, the fact still remains that for the bulk of our people in the African continent who are rural dwellers, their first port of call in terms of healthcare delivery remains these African traditional medicine practitioners. That is the first port of call. So we must continue to refine it and make it available, make it accessible, and then we will get there.
Professor, I'd like to bring you back into the fold. I mean, both you and Dr. Mamora have talked about the sort of cultural appropriation that we've seen. We've seen the colonial past, the colonial history that this continent has, attempting to erase these indigenous forms of knowledge. But is the partnership purely about the reclamation of what has been lost? Or is there an interest in the commercialization of traditional medicine as well?
Yeah, I mean, the question is not just revitalizing the importance of traditional medicine among our people, but at the same time is to ensure that traditional medicine, which has been marginalized in the public health care, also contributes to the quality of life of our people in terms of income and in terms of job creation. Because if you look at now the traditional medicine value chain across the continent, when the visitors came here on Monday, we visited the Warwick traditional medicine market. You can see the way our people sell their products, their herbs on the floor. I mean, they are not attractive. You can't, although a large part of people come there because they depend on them, as the minister said. A large proportion of people depend on traditional medicine because they're accessible, they're affordable, they're culturally acceptable. But the situation in the value chain, especially in the marketing, in the processing, you can't sell them globally. So there is need through the partnership to ensure that we improve through interfacing of knowledge system, indigenous knowledge and technologies with other forms of knowledge and technology system to ensure that we improve the value chain of traditional medicine among our people so that they can have a global currency. In other words, it can be standardized, sold any part of the world like the Chinese are doing whatever they, and which is not the case now. However, we find that the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development, they have an experience of 30 years. They've been doing, producing different types of medicine in the traditional medicine value chain. So we want to work with them. And one of the first things we would like to do, because during the signing of the MOU, we had also traditional healers and traditional leaders and other stakeholders in the traditional value chain, including business and investors, the municipality, the Queen municipality was also there. We agreed, and they agreed that the first thing we should do is to identify a group of traditional healers here from South Africa who can go to Nigeria, visit the institutes there, see what they are doing, because one thing they are doing at the institute in Nigeria, they are working with the WHO to ensure that traditional healers are being capacitated. And we would like to send our traditional healers from South Africa capacitated and come here and also train other traditional healers in various aspects. And we also agreed that we as a university and the center here, we are going to organize workshops to ensure that our scientists also who are trained in Western ways of knowing and doing things, they are also trained, also understand our indigenous ways of knowing and indigenous ways of knowledge production, so that it can be a kind of a two-way traffic, not only training them on Western ways of doing things or modern ways, but they also learn how our people, produce knowledge, they're innovative, and how they work together. So it is a two-way traffic, and the Institute in Nigeria has that experience.
All right, well, Professor Kaya, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, as well as you, Dr. Mamora, for joining us to have this all-important conversation. Hopefully, the outcomes of the work of the Institute will, in fact, start to pave the way for better economic participation for traditional healers, as well as that recognition that is so desperately needed in that sector.